I appear. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Looking Through the Glass. Today is a wonderful day. We have Giselle, which you cannot see, but she is there, I swear. She's got a cloak on. And we have Leslie Drafton. Leslie, you have an amazing work that you do and something that I'm very, very interested in. And I know that a lot of our listeners, I was going to say readers for some reason, but a lot of our listeners also is very interested in. And you work with psychedelics
Yes.
and healing. And that is right there, those two go hand in hand from what I have heard very, very well. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it off to you and like give us a little bit more information.
For sure. Yeah. So thank you so much for having me. I am a trauma informed somatic practitioner, psychedelic guide, former TV news anchor. And so I work with high functioning, successful spiritual women who want to stop spiraling in patterns of self abandonment, unworthiness, shame, who feel like they have blocks that may be linked to their own trauma, consciously or unconsciously. And I assist them in really finding ways to stabilize their nervous system and then expand their capacity to create the life that they dream of. And I say expand their capacity because the first step of much of my work is let's get you stable, and then let's open the door through things like psychedelic microdosing into what's holding you back really, what's really at the root, what's still in your body that has yet to be looked at, seen, or processed, and how do we move beyond the things that have been keeping us stuck into the life that we really deeply desire.
Wow. You can tell you're a newsicker. Right. Sorry, you can really tell you're a newsicker. I was like, damn, I'm up on my own podcast right now. It's really interesting because I body keeps the score. I suffered from head trauma, severe head trauma, multiple times. Head trauma. I grew up breaking Mustangs, so I grew up with getting head trauma. I was in abusive relationships,
Mm-hmm.
so head trauma is there. Also, the major one that when I hit the very top of my head on a hollow pole hand railing at Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon was as far as the interesting story goes. But when you do by when they talk about concussions or when they measure concussions, they measure based on the amount of vibration that goes through the different parts of the brain.
Mm.
And they had said that if I had hit my head any harder, or if there would have been any more vibration that gone through my head, it would have killed me.
Wow.
I was having blackouts and all kinds of stuff. But in that, there was undiagnosed severe PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
And the two of those combined was an absolute disaster for
Mm-hmm.
me and for my family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and now that I'm kind of past all the blackouts, all the things, because I would go into literally like these combative back blackouts. Literally, they would be combative blackouts, is what they were, and it was because something, for some reason, my body said, "Oh, you're in trouble," and then went straight into that blackout. And I still have those issues. Like I wake up in the mornings and I'm in cold or hot sweat or cold sweats where I'm shivering, and I know that it's my body in flight or flight. Like I
Mm-hmm.
wake up in the mornings in flight or flight. So like what you talk about and what you do is something that somebody like I would absolutely. I have cats fighting in my background. Sorry, you guys. Welcome to Looking Through the Glass. Like for somebody like me or other people that have traumas from young, in the midst of all my healing, I have memories coming up from when I was probably around 2 years old of being
Mm-hmm.
molested,
Mm-hmm.
So like there's a lot of backlist there, a lot of backlist. So yours, what you do and what you're talking about is pretty much like I'm a pretty good candidate for. It sounds
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, exactly. Because what you were describing was very, very close to what many of the women that I've worked with have dealt with. I don't know if it's just my own story. You know, my backstory is that I was adopted. My birth mother was 12 when she was molested. And then
Mhm.
I was put up for adoption. I was adopted by a preacher and his wife and raised by my parents in a very loving home. But I had these things that would happen to me as a child, deep anxiety, deep ruminating thoughts about worst case scenarios. And I guess when I was young, I didn't really understand what this was. Now, skip to being a good little Christian soldier, the
Mhm.
preacher's daughter, the eldest daughter, the perfectionist, all the stress that that brought me. Then, boom, 18 years old at college, freshman year, have sex with my boyfriend, get herpes. So it was just, you know,
Person that's
um,
faith-based goes, "Oh, that was me getting punished."
yes, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for what I was, from what I had been experiencing in my childhood, right? Don't have sex or else something bad will happen. It happened to
Mhm.
me. Now, at that point, I had no idea about my birth mother's story. My parents had kind of skirted around the issue and told me, oh, she was a teenager, whatever. Well, in my 20s, I made contact with her. I found out the whole story and met her in my 30s and really found out the whole story. And I share this because what I noticed in myself is that I held a lot of trauma from her. I held a lot of nervous system dysregulation because of what was happening as I swam around in her womb when she found out she was pregnant at 6 months
Yeah.
because she was a child and had not had a regular period. When she got kicked out of her home because her mom didn't want to deal with it, I
Flavor.
guess, and had to go live with strangers. And so, what I was experiencing in my conscious life with these highs and lows of freaking out, fight, flight, like you were saying, didn't make sense because my home life was really good. Sure, I had some
And
things where I couldn't be myself, but what I've realized now is it was deep ancestral trauma, matrilineal trauma. And so, not only do I work with women who, like you, have had things happen to them in their lived experience of this life, but a lot of the people that come to me have also been carrying wounds of their mother line as well. Yeah.
right here and her, it's been passed down. It
Mm-hmm.
literally has been passed down. And they don't talk about in science they don't talk about the to which the levels that baby is going through in the womb and how it
Mm-hmm.
really does affect. I know I watched a long time ago that they talked about being overweight and having overweight issues can come down from bloodlines from great grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
literally passed down from great grandmother. So part of the reason why I'm fat could be because my great grandmother went through a starvation
Yeah.
period during her teenage years, and guess
Yep.
what that does? It turns on a gene in the body now, and now that gene gets passed down. So it
Mm-hmm.
works the same in
Yep.
like spiritual levels and all that other stuff.
Yep. Absolutely.
I will say that I have experienced psychedelics on my own. And I think that's what a lot of my real trauma did start to it put me in a calm state to handle my trauma.
Uh huh.
Um because when I finally decided I'm gonna try it and it was very much one of those my aunt died, my great aunt, and I didn't get a chance to heal from that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get a chance to grieve through it or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, of course, about a year after she passed away, and actually probably about 2 years after she passed away, when I finally had the opportunity to try psychedelics. And
Mm-hmm.
um, the music, I was listening to music. It gives the height of sensitivity that you have with your senses is insane.
Yeah.
I never experienced anything like it. My hearing and my vision and everything was insane. But I was listening to music and I started to cry. But I wasn't crying in a way of unhealthiness where I was upset or mad or anything. It was I just needed to release, and it let me release that and grieve my aunt for just a moment, just enough to be healthy and happy and go, you know what? I miss her, but I'm okay. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay to miss her. And it's having that experience with the psychedelics, I've never done it a couple times and I've never had a bad trip. People speak of bad trips and everything, and I never had a bad trip. I always felt free.
Mhm.
Honestly, it was the most freeing thing I've ever done.
Yeah, absolutely. And exactly what you're talking about, right? So, psychedelics, when we take large doses, do exactly what you said. They increase our sensitivity to sight and sound and feelings in our body, and they can make us hallucinate, they can make us trip. And for people who are ready and who have done some preparation, or maybe like yourself, were just very open to the experience, yeah, it's often a very pleasant experience. And some folks say it's the best thing they've ever done. You know, when you look at research from the 60s, when they were still letting us look at this before they decided that this should be illegal,
Mhm.
um, these people were having like uh,
Sorry, I
peak
won't get into that
experiences.
part.
We sure will. Um,
Oh,
th-
good.
yeah, these people, they were having like God-like experiences and understanding that we're all connected. And so what I love about
Yes,
psychedelics for grief is that you have a chance to understand that even if they're not here, they are here.
we are
And
here.
Hmm.
and they
Yeah.
and you are there, and like everything is one. And so for
Hmm.
me, what I found to be super healing in my own journeys with psychedelic mushrooms is that I really started to understand how deeply connected everyone is. And again, this perfectly segues into why they're illegal. I understood that if we're all one and we're all connected, then what in the fuck are we fighting about? And segue
Eggs
into why we made it illegal, because these folks, the hippies, were tripping shrooms and LSD and they didn't want to go to
and
war.
surpassing the intelligence of other people that were in school. It
Yeah.
opens up a part of your mind
Mm-hmm.
that cannot be opened any other way. There's a reason why shamans and you go back as far back as human history goes, where we were using psychedelics.
Yep.
You go back as far as human history goes. We were doing psychedelics. We were using cannabis. We were using what
Cannabis is another one.
I'm not going to say the name of the company, but it has a certain it's very well known company. Weeds are, and it's not. They're not weeds. They're literally medicine.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's, I think, for me, what changed my whole mind about it, you know, because I didn't explore psychedelics until I was in my 30s. I was literally a poster child for Dare. I won a t-shirt decorating contest in third grade. I would pay so much money to have this sweatshirt that I like, the design that I made. And it was probably something like your brain on drugs. But like, I was such a good little girl. I didn't
Hmm.
explore it at all in college. Had some pretty freaky experiences with some trash weed in college. And so I was like, no, drug free is the way to be. So when I was in my 30s, early 30s, I finally had some of these experiences. And when I then started to understand about the healing properties, and since I had already exhausted so many other Western medical model experiences for trying to get over my anxiety and my burnout and my depression and my PTSD, psychedelics is what I turned to. And what was interesting for me is I had to do a lot of unlearning about the programming that had been placed into my brain about why this is bad, why this is illegal, and I had to make the choice for myself: is it worth the risk, and can I really follow man's law if that law is set up by a person who doesn't give a fuck about me?
Thank you. Exactly. Thank
Right?
you. They don't give a fuck about you. They
No.
can care less about you. And we've been showing, and it's showing more and more and more and
Uh-huh.
more and more people. Like, we definitely are one of those they can give a fuck less about us and what we do with our lives. All they want is our money.
For
That
sure.
is it.
Yeah, and to control. And so as I
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I was a news anchor still when I began my own psychedelic exploration. But the pandemic had really opened my eyes that we do not have a loving government. And there is a
No.
very famous quote, I believe by Terrence McKenna, about psychedelics. And it basically says that psychedelics are not illegal because you have a loving government who's worried you'll jump off of your roof and think you can fly when you're high. They're illegal because you become ungovernable when you understand what
when you
really is
awaken.
happening in this world. Yeah. And for me, that's like
Mhm.
such an interesting and potent part of the work I do with women. It's because once you figure out that all of the shit that's happened to you, all of the things you believe about yourself is not your true self, and we reset the button to sort of awaken who you really are, I just feel like I'm helping raise like ungovernable, unfuckwithable women to rebirth
Exactly.
themselves.
That's right.
Exactly,
Love
exactly.
it.
That's exactly what you're doing, and I love it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. You might have one here, and in all honesty, because I'm going through therapy, and it helps. It
Yeah.
does help. Don't get me wrong. It's helped me in a lot of ways, but now I feel like I'm kind of hitting
Mm-hmm.
this roof of, well, this kind of therapy, and it has helped, with cognitive behavioral
Yeah.
therapy. I think that it's a great place. It was a great place for me to start.
Correct.
It was a
Yeah.
great place for me to start because I didn't understand and I refused to admit the immense amount of traumas that I have experienced throughout my life. I
Mm-hmm.
refused to admit it. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm bigger and badder. I'm a tough bitch. I can handle this shit.
Sure.
That's literally, and I'm not even kidding. That's the mentality that has been passed down,
Mm.
throughout my matriarchic
Yeah.
women family. We're all women. We're
Yeah.
like there's very few males that are born into my family. They're all the oldest. They're all women. Like but there's this huge independence woman type thing.
Yes.
And if you rely on somebody, then you're not being a good woman. And that's literally what I was being taught. If you rely on a man, then you're not being a good woman. Or if you
Mm.
rely on anybody at all whatsoever, you're not being a good woman. And when I got my head injury, I
Mm.
had no other choice
Mm-hmm.
but to rely on other people. And
Mm-hmm.
hearing that repeat over and over in my head, I still fight it.
Yeah.
I still fight it. But that on repeat in my head mixed with the PTSD and all the other things, it created so much darkness that I had to claw my way out of,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, and then realizing, wow, no, Sela, you've been beaten, you've been abandoned, you've been traumatized multiple times, sexually
Mm-hmm.
abused multiple times, and and I passed it right on down to my own daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I passed it right on down to my own daughter with my lack of knowing, you
Mm.
know. And then through the quitting of my meth, the usage, that helped quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That was the beginning.
Yeah.
Literally was quitting that and then starting. Ooh, ears ringing. Sorry. Um, but that was just the beginning, and I'm unlearning that because I had to rely on my daughter because my brain literally could not handle anything. I'm not a bad mom.
Right.
You know, I had to learn, and she had to constantly tell me, well, that's not something that my daughter should have to constantly tell me. I shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have to go to my own kid for reassurance. I should be able to get that from within. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I'm just putting the truth out there. That's what it is. That's where I'm at. I have to go to other people for reassurance. I'm in that I'm learning me stage,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Like I'm learning the true strengths of me, the ones that the creator had put into me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
No, for sure. And I think it's really interesting too. You brought up two very, very important things. The first is that you're right. Therapy is very good for insight. It is very good to help you understand and start to make logical sense of some of the things that have happened. And you
Hmm.
have experienced hitting the ceiling of talk therapy, which a lot of self aware women hit because you start feeling like, well, why am I not feeling better if I understand everything about what's happened to me?
Hmm.
And that's where
Yes,
somatics
yes,
come in.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly where I'm at. Like,
Yep.
how come I'm still experiencing this on a daily basis? How come I'm still fighting this anxiety or going
Mm-hmm.
through this when I've talked about it so much? I'm
Yeah.
blue in the freaking face and I understand it. Now, don't get me wrong, it has helped in the understanding a lot more of, hey, I need to pay attention to what my body's talking,
Sure.
because I've numbed my body since the age of 12. I started doing methamphetamines at the age of 12. I lived with a complete and total psychopath, that was um, literally a serial rapist.
Mm.
That's what I lived with.
Mm.
Um, and fortunately, my mom kept me safe up until the
Mm.
very end, but
Mm.
I still felt everything that my mom was going through. I lived in the same house as her. I'm a sensitive person. Kids are not stupid.
Right.
I didn't know what was going on, but I felt it.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates chaos.
Yeah. And so that creates chaos and that creates learned behavior in your nervous system. So what
Hmm.
you were sharing before about, having to feel like you needed to be the strong one and you couldn't rely on other people. And if you were, that you were weak. What's so fascinating about what you've been sharing about your story is that definitely seems like a passed down nervous system response through all the women. And they probably had to learn that because men were not safe. They were hurt physically in many
Hmm.
conscious and unconscious lifetimes. And so what's now interesting about what you're sharing is that after your head injury, you had to rely on other people. Well, let me tell you, the nervous system was built to be in connection with others. And it's only through these survival patterns that we have to learn for protection. And then they become deeply ingrained in us that we think we're better off alone. And so part of it is the unlearning of, oh, it's actually not weak at all to want to be around and to need other people. It's actually, I think, the most vulnerable and the most strong thing you can do to admit you don't want to do it alone. You can't do it alone.
Hmm.
And so, what's just so fascinating about what you've shared is there's the passed down matrilineal wound of
Hmm.
trauma in the past, passing
Yes.
to you. So, not only is it epigenetically passed down through the cells that shift when trauma happens, but you've also learned from your mother and grandmother and aunts and all the women in the line be the strong one, never depend on a man, and there's
Take care of
always
your
so much
man.
more to the story. Yeah. Take care of
Take
your man.
care of your man. Take care of your man. That's what it's always been. Take care of your man.
Why do you think that you had to take care of your man? Because if you took care of him, he wouldn't
Broke
hurt you.
that. I straight up
Probably.
broke that.
Yeah. And that's a very good question. Is if he didn't, which there was alcoholism and stuff like that, like on my mom's side, really bad. My father's an alcoholic too, which I don't
Mm,
even speak to him. Like they cut, nope, cut, ties cut.
mm.
There's a lot of reasons for that too. Spiritual and worldly.
Well, exactly. Well, yes, and I think what you also brought up too is, not even just in y'all's line, not even just in my line. Women in general, since the rise of patriarchy, have learned we better take care of other people. We better put
Hmm.
ourselves last. We better make sure that we're
Hmm.
not too loud, too much, too outspoken, too dramatic, too sensitive, too what the fuck ever. And it's always been because of one, a need for safety in our nervous system that our bodies just inherently do, right? We can't outthink our body's protection
Hmm.
mode sometimes. But I think what's also interesting is when you look at what patriarchy really is at its core, it's not necessarily men over women, just like matriarchy is not women over men. Patriarchy is a system of oppression over other people. And so when you think about the people who are the oppressors and all of us who are the oppressed in many different ways, what's the nervous system of each of those two entities, right? What's the nervous system of the oppressor? What's the nervous system of the oppressed? And what are the learned behaviors that are now deeply impacting us years and years, thousands, millennia later from the rise of this to now? And how is it manifesting in all of our lives as highly spiritual, intuitive, empathic, successful, bad bitches?
Because honestly, the second you start doing something that for yourself or for or just for you in general, or like you immediately start questioning yourself, you know, should I be doing this?
Yeah.
Or am I being selfish? Or it's immediately you're feeling guilty. You're feeling
Hmm.
guilty, and because you're finally doing something for yourself, or you stood up and you said something, and it's like, oh, I should have said that. I hurt their feelings, and it's like,
Which is total bullshit. You should be doing all of
And
that
it is.
and then some.
It really is. And the more you're speaking out about it, the more I'm realizing it, because I'm going through the postpartum as well,
Yeah.
but that has heightened everything else
Yep.
with
Mhm.
the traumas and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And
Especially the passed down traumas that I have passed down, and the one
mhm,
those have been a lot for her recently. Like I've been getting, hey mom, I don't mean to hurt you, but like what you're going through is different tones. It's my tone that triggers her. It's a tone.
Mm-hmm.
Literally,
she
it's a
has
tone that
been
triggers. I have
grief.
a special tone that triggers her,
Mhm.
and that's horrible for somebody to have.
Mm.
You know what I mean? That's horrible that and I'm not saying that to beat myself up or anything. It is what it is and I've forgiven myself. But like to know that my daughter I have a tone that puts my daughter into freak out mode, it puts her system into freak out mode. That's bad. That's not good. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. But I've been noticing it more and more, and I'm 12 weeks postpartum, almost 13 weeks actually.
Mm.
And I've been noticing that I hit a plateau of just doubting myself and feeling guilty because I'm trying to take a moment for myself. I feel
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not doing enough for my husband. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not him that's making me
Sure.
feel that way. It's me making myself feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm in a very healthy relationship with him, and but I feel that I'm not doing enough for him because I'm not cooking dinner, I'm not
Yeah.
cleaning the house, I am taking care of a baby. And then I feel that when I put the baby on him and I take a moment to step outside, I'm putting too much on him.
Mm-hmm.
And so, sorry, he's standing right here staring at me.
I can do it. He was standing right there. I almost see him.
I feel you probably feel it.
Yeah, like I could feel it in your energy. I see it.
Oh.
And I'm slowly, and it was putting me in a depression. I was
Mm-hmm.
slowly falling into a depression, and I'm going, no, I can't hit that. I know I
Mm.
can't. I know I'm relied on. Two, I have a daughter, and I don't want her feeling that. I don't want her knowing that her mom's going through it, even though it's good for her to know that we have feelings
Mm-hmm.
and we're allowed to have feelings.
Yeah.
And she's still young, but I also just I want to allow myself to heal so
Mm-hmm.
that way she can not have this when she's growing up. So
Mm-hmm.
she can be a healthy, badass woman.
Yeah. Yeah. And
That she is.
I think you really pointed something out that's in the spiral that happens between self-judgment and self-abandonment, right? So a trigger happens and lots of times we immediately think thoughts that are mired in shame and guilt and judgment of ourselves. And you really pointed it out so beautifully. Well, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this. And so women especially have such a good, like we do such a good job at shaming the shit out of ourselves.
Yes,
Don't
we do.
we?
Like we really do. And
Don't
that self-judgment is what leads us to these deep patterns of self-abandonment. And when we are abandoning ourselves, then I think we're just even more susceptible to what all of the programming around the world is trying to get at us for. And so
we?
that's why nervous system regulation, that's why somatic healing, womb healing, psychedelic healing, which are all the things that I work with, are so potent because once you like imagine what your life would be like if you didn't have those thoughts of like, oh, I don't, not a single ounce of shame or guilt comes in when I'm doing this or that. You just live. And you know from a deep rooted self-sourced place that I'm still going to be loved. I'm still going to be worthy.
Mhm.
I'm still going to be safe. I'm going to be the best version of myself for her, for myself, for anybody else who comes down. Like, imagine what life would be like if there was none of the shame. Or imagine what it would be like if, yes, there was maybe the thought of shame, but there's equal parts this other thought that's like, oh, yes, we see you, shame. We see you, you funny little bitch. Uh-huh. We know you're trying to talk right now. Yes, okay. We know that you just want to be heard, you want to be safe, you want to be loved, and you can leave now. Imagine if that was the
Honestly,
part like that you were able to process through.
that'd be so amazing for you.
It gets really hard. That is starting to happen for me though. I'm
Mhm.
noticing when I'm shaming myself or I'm guilty, making myself feel guilty, and I immediately catch it and I go,
Hmm.
no, I have a right to step outside for 5 minutes
Yeah.
while the baby is sleeping or while my husband has the baby. Like I'm allowed to step outside. This weekend we're actually doing something for ourselves tomorrow night. And I was having a very hard time with it. I
Mm.
was going, I don't want to put the baby on him. I don't want to leave, part of it's like I don't want to leave the baby at home but why do I have to suffer?
Mm.
And when I should be able to go out for a night,
Mhm.
and I call it purging. I'm gonna go purge my
That's
emotions
exactly what we're
and
gonna go do. We're gonna go dance our asses off and purge. That's what we're gonna go do.
but I'm doing something for myself, and I'm getting a night where I can recuperate
Yeah.
and then come home and be the mom that I need to be the wife
Mhm.
I need to be. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, 13 weeks, I'm getting angry at randomly. Any little thing that happens, I'm just, frustrated.
Mhm.
And then I start putting it on other people. And then they don't need that because then that causes them to start having their shaming and their guilt. And
Mm.
they don't need that either. And then it's just being spread. And then here
Yeah.
I am not doing what I'm on a podcast, have a whole podcast about where we're supposed to be healing and I'm just causing damage to other people.
Mm.
Well,
Mhm.
we gotta remember we are human. We
Sure,
have to
yes.
remember we are human. That's the number one thing to sell. We have to remember that we are human and that you are going through a lot because, the postpartum and even during the pregnancy, brought up a lot of the things that you thought you dealt with, but, we deal with them, we're onions, we're ogres. We
Yeah.
have
I
those
like onions.
layers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really truly are. We have those layers. So I just wanted to point out to you first and foremost, remember we are human. First and
I
foremost.
know. I know. And I just I hate being a bitch sometimes. I woke up grumpy this morning. I said, that's why I'm being a bitch. I'm sleep deprived.
Yeah.
The baby sleeps on me. She sleeps right next to
Mm.
me. My arm is around her, and she likes to scoot as close as possible. So here I am, not getting the care I need.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you can have her. I'm going to take a minute to sleep before I have to go, be on the podcast because
Yeah.
I need to be mentally ready for it. And yeah. And then, but I started to feel guilty and I got angry because I started feeling guilty because I felt
Mhm.
that he was getting upset because I was handing the baby off to him.
Yeah. You know what's so interesting? There's actually two things that I want to say. One is this idea of projection. Now, this is a lesson I recently, it's like, first of all, you're never going to be fully healed. You're always going to have like the ability to come back to like a new flavor of your trauma or a flavor of your wound.
I
There
love
are
how
people
you
out,
put that flavor. I love how you
yeah,
put that.
is
Because it's
like
literally what it's like.
a new flavor. Okay.
New flavor.
So, what's interesting about projection, and this is something that I recently went through with my husband, is I thought he was judging me for being witchy and for doing my rituals. And what I really realized, and I think what you probably realized too, is actually the thoughts were not that deep. Okay. And it was not him, it was me. I was projecting
Uh-huh.
my own inner shame and my own guilt and my
Hmm.
own judgment onto him and then seeing it back and seeing it in a flinch of his mouth or like a set in his
Mm-hmm.
shoulders. So I was like, oh fuck, he hates me.
Tone.
He thinks he thinks I'm terrible. I'm going to hell. And what I realized was like, oh, This is you, sweetheart. The world literally revolves around you. Your world revolves around you. Your world revolves around you. The baby's world revolves around her. Everybody's world revolves around themselves. And everything in your world reflects back to you what your own beliefs about yourself are. So when I was like, oh, he's judging me, it's because I was judging myself.
Mm-hmm.
I had the thought first. Okay. So that's the
That's
first thing I
funny.
want to
I
say.
did the same. I did the same thing for doing my little my little witchy. What they say witchy, but they're not witchy. They're not. But like doing my little rituals, and stuff like that. I did the same thing, like because I would be outside in my yard, and I'm like, oh, everybody's like looking at me all driving by, and I'm like, you kind of should be used to it because, like, here I am. I'm the weird lady in the neighborhood that's watering her horse's corral because watermelon just popped up. So I'm watering the horse's corral. I'm like, oh, I got watermelon. So people just drive by and they just see this crazy lady watering her horse's corrals. You
Yeah,
know?
no, I do agree with you on that, where we project onto them. And I do that a lot with him, and especially more recently. I used to do it beforehand too, before I started my healing process of everything I've been going through. And I would sage the house, and I would sit there and think that he's judging me because I'm saging my house. And it's no, actually, stairs. Actually, he wasn't. He encourages it. Please stop. But then when he actually started joining me and
Yeah.
started, doing it with me, and then, I just had to open that door
Mm-hmm.
and, and realize, hey, it's me. It's not you.
Mm-hmm.
It's my traumas that are doing it to me. And I will say that the more I deal with my traumas, and I feel that every time I start to guilt myself or shame myself and start to fall into those patterns, yeah, I say it's the other side trying to bring me back in to my
Mm-hmm.
traumas that I've already started healing because it doesn't want me to heal. It doesn't want
Lower
me to act
frequencies is where they want you at.
when
Mm-hmm.
I should be at my higher power, when I am finding my higher power and I'm going, no, I'm going to do me. I'm going to be me. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if anybody doesn't like it or not because I'm me and they don't have to accept me.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's interesting too that you've shared is how much hormones play a part into this as well, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Oh
Yep.
my gosh.
So
There's not even like,
You
wow.
joke on that. It's actually funny because I just was texting another podcaster. She was sending me a clip that's going viral with her. We were on her podcast, and she's like, "This is getting a lot of talk, and it's about my husband and me and my postpartum," and so it's really funny. And I was like, "These hormones are the postpartum's not a joke. Women are
right.
resilient. Like
Whoa.
I never understood because I've never been a mom before,
Mm-hmm.
and I never understood the postpartum. Oh my Lord, the mental load that you have because of these hormones, just because of hormones
Yep.
alone,
Mhm.
the mental
Yeah.
load is insane.
Yep.
I
And
tried committing suicide because my hormones were out of whack
Yep.
and it put my body into fight or flight. And then,
Yep.
therefore, my body then goes into the mind, starts the mind circling. And I've literally got scars on my body because my hormones were out of whack and I didn't understand any of it.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And I couldn't control any of it, especially like with the head injury and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
because during my periods or right before my periods is when the
Yep.
seizures would ramp up. And I'm going to put out there also female feminine products. I have just switched over to all natural female feminine products. I had one seizure throughout my period. Normally, I have hundreds. Like,
What
I
are
mean,
you
I'm
using
just
now?
Cora, the brand Cora is what I'm using.
Are
It
those
was cheap
tampons, pads?
tampons and pads.
Okay.
and because I seen a clip off of another podcast and they were talking about, well, I've been putting bleach and pesticides. And then I went and I did the background check of who owns the biggest stocks of these companies, and who's the biggest stockholders of these companies are definitely not the people that care about us, like
Yeah.
you were saying earlier. And well, what better way to make our bladders not be able to work correctly and need depends later on in life? What better ways to need different type of medications and this and that? I started really thinking about it, and immediately, and I'm not even kidding, like immediately before I would put in a tampon and I would get cramps and stuff.
Yeah.
Nope, not this. And then like that's how I would tell, like I would tell is by like, okay, I got so much cramps, I know I need to go change this and that. I didn't have any of those problems, ladies. For those ladies listening out there, and I know this is like off a tangent over here, but literally, like literally, it has been a game changer for me.
Yep.
One little tiny change. Like when you look up those companies who own the feminine products, the largest ones, and you'll understand immediately that they are not there for you.
Yeah. And it's not a tangent because I started my coaching career as a menstrual cycle coach, which is why
Oh,
I
did
also deal
you?
with womb
Wow.
healing. Yes. And that's why I always am like, ooh, what are you using? So absolutely. When I stopped using, I will use a tampon if I absolutely have to, if there's nothing else. But I have switched to discs, menstrual discs.
Yeah, the
Yep.
discs. Yeah.
Not the cup terrifies me. I don't
The
compute
cup
on how
is,
to
I
get
did
it.
the cup. Yeah, I did the cup, and then it's pretty. It's not the cleanest. If you got to know, you got to figure it out.
Yeah, well, and I
It's
don't.
a little trick to it.
What I realized is that my cervix didn't want anything rubbing up
Uh-uh.
against it. And so that's why
No.
like now if I use a tampon, I have cramps. And when I use the menstrual discs, which actually sit like right behind your pubic bone and underneath the cervix, so there's nothing against the cervix, I have such better periods. But let's talk about the woo of this, right? Why do they want to stop up your menstrual blood? Because it's your life force energy. It's literally like
Yeah.
the most potent stem cell laden nectar out there. And so
Yeah.
when you're stopping it up and you're doing it with these tampons like you said that are just so horrible for us, with all these pesticides that we, by the way, don't even fucking study because we never look at women's bodies because we're just too complicated.
Mhm.
I really feel that it blocks this energetic frequency that happens as you're releasing the blood. And so it makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense to me, people who have cramps because of using tampons. And so that's what I either free bleed or I use the other, the disc. And I like to
Yes.
use the disc because I like to look at the blood because your blood tells you so much interesting
It
information
tells
about
you a
your health.
lot about your health. And absolutely, I
Yes.
look at my pee, I do all that because I'm a vet tech. So as a vet tech, the very first thing you learn in school is your bodily fluids tell you so much of what's going on in your body.
Yep.
Like I can look at a urine and go, oh nope, I see kidney failure. I can smell kidney failure on the breath. Like,
What?
they teach you that stuff.
Oh
Liver
my
failure and
gosh.
kidney failure you can smell on the breath. Like,
Oh,
especially when it comes to animals, you
oh.
know. But yeah, no, your bodily fluids definitely whatever's coming out of you is telling you a lot.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why they say, hey, look out for tar type looking stools, or
Sure.
there's an absolute reason for that. But I never thought about the menstrual cycle and with them wanting to stop up the blood.
Well,
Like,
yeah. I think for there's more than just that too, right? Like they just want it to be clean, sanitary, hush
uh-huh.
hush, keep it quiet, don't ever talk about it.
Be
But there's
embarrassed about it.
yeah, be embarrassed about it. And
Hmm.
what's interesting is there's this saying, and I'm not sure which culture it is from, but I learned it whenever I was in my coaching. Basically, there's this idea that like when women give their blood back to the earth, because period blood comes, it's the only blood that comes from nonviolence. Um,
Mm-hmm.
When we give our blood back to the earth, then all the men will come home from war. Like there was this like shamanic, like
Mm-hmm.
indigenous
Yeah.
saying around that. And for me, when I was beginning my journey to reclaim my menstrual cycle, to heal my womb, to deal with my sexual shame, um,
I have so
and
much of that.
deconstruct from religion, that was something that was really interesting to me because I realized that this is vital. This is vitality at its core. I mean, it
Yeah.
literally is what sets itself up to nurture and nourish a child. So for me, I have a lot of
Exactly
like
what's in
blood
my daughter's
rituals.
arms right now. It
Yeah,
is life force. It is
for sure.
literally life force. Um, so Leslie, we have not discussed how people can get a hold of you or how they can reach you when because you're wow, you've got so much there. Like I say this to a lot of our guests, but you definitely are one of the ones that where I'm like, I really probably should really check out her more because, well, one, I have so much sexual trauma
Yeah.
not only from being sexually molested and raped, but also from past relationships
Mm-hmm.
and then also other things, there's so much that's been put on and I am one of those people, it's one of the things that I've really, really noticed about me recently, especially. I like to just, oh, you've got this problem. I'll take it. I'm one of those, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm really trying to break that because that is not for me. I need to think about me. I need to stop abandoning myself throughout my. I have abandoned myself more than anything in my life, and I'm like at this point where I don't care. I will burn the world down. I'm doing it for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like everything that I'm doing, I know I don't care how selfish it sounds. Yes, I have a brand new granddaughter, I have a daughter. I don't care because whatever I do for me, it's doing it for them too.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever healing I do for me is helping everybody else around me. Like she was saying earlier, she doesn't want to be a bitch, but there's all this other stuff going on, you know. So how can our clients or us be able to get a hold of you
Yeah.
and get your services because there's so much knowledge inside of that head of yours.
Well, it's actually inside my womb. This
Okay,
knowledge.
okay. There's so
It's
much
in the whole
knowledge
body.
inside that
Yes.
room of it. But yeah, you
Yes.
are right. Yeah.
So you can find me on social media. I'm on Instagram and TikTok. You can look for Leslie Drafton. And also, if you're listening and you are interested in exploring deeper somatic work or somatic microdosing work, the best way to get a hold of me is to book a free call. We can talk about the offers that I have as far as one-on-one coaching. I do a 10-day nervous system private coaching container that's generally the place most people start. It's called Sacred Reset. But for those who are ready for more deep expansion, there's a 3-month one-on-one container called Sacred Expansion. And that is where we go deeply into some of the things we've been talking about: trauma, sexual trauma, womb healing, the mother line, and
Mm-hmm.
really assisting you in connecting back to your body to stabilize the nervous system. But more than that, opening the subconscious so that we can rewire our brain, our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings, and really ascend into the versions of ourselves that we were always meant to be.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. I know and I know I know I'm not alone in this, because
Right.
a lot of people in the world we're going through this era where I think there's a lot of discoveries happening, and
Yeah.
we're really just in this world wise, universal wise, we're just in this different spot. It's one of those things
Yeah.
you just kind of feel. I
Yeah.
just feel it.
Yeah.
Um, I was gonna ask you something else and I can't remember what the hell it was. I thought.
Well, while you think about it, what I will say is I think you had such an interesting way of putting something that's a very key part of my world. I really do believe that when women choose to heal themselves, just like I said
Mhm.
before, your world is a mirror of yourself. When we heal
Yeah.
ourselves, we heal our family, we heal the collective, we heal our community. And from those places, that's how we topple the patriarchy. That's how we rise back into matrilineal, matriarchal, more village like connection, which is what
Mhm.
mushrooms want, which is what we are at our core,
What
is
do
all
we
one.
want? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's literally what we want.
Yeah.
We may sit there and I know that there's people out there are gonna go, I hate people. Da, da, da. Look, no, you can't stand their traumas and you can't stand that. You don't hate people. It's not the person you hate. It's the
Mm-hmm.
things that they're where the way they're operating and where they're operating from. They're
Yeah.
damaged. They're
They
hurt.
project.
And literally, like, this is where we need to think from. This is, at least personally, that's where I'm coming from. Because I
Mm-hmm.
used to always be oh, I don't want people, I don't want people, I don't want people. But when I got clean is when I realized, and when I say I got clean, I got guided. There was pure guidance. I didn't go to a recovery center. I didn't do any of that. And every time I tried quitting, I would have so many seizures. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
having 90 seizures a week. My body, my brain
Mm-hmm.
couldn't handle the chemical change.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a literal miracle. I'm not even kidding. A literal miracle happened in my bathroom. And I went on to another podcast about it, and I've talked about it on other podcasts. So it's out there if you want the story, people. But I think anybody that's been able to quit hard methamphetamines, fentanyl, or any of these other things, they are a miracle. What
Mm-hmm.
you've done is a miracle, and what you've done is beyond anything that a lot of people can do. And I forgot my point on that. I guess I'll leave it there.
Well, what I think also is very interesting too, because of what you've shared, a question that comes up a lot in my work is, well, if I've been an addict in the past, can I work with psychedelics? Will
Yes,
I
you
get
can.
addicted to psychedelics? Right? No. I
No.
really don't believe that, mushrooms, which is what I deal with, is psychedelic mushrooms, are not
Yes.
addictive. However, what they
Yeah.
can do is kick in what I call psychological addiction. So
Mhm.
this is this idea that, oh, I'm only feeling better because I ingested these mushrooms. And so with microdosing, which is again where I work with clients most often, is in these teeny tiny non-intoxicating doses that you take a few times a week for a few weeks at a time. The key part of it is the time off. It's the integration. And so
Mhm.
when you start to see that the benefits that you experienced when you ingested the mushrooms are also there on the days when you didn't, that's the aha moment. That's the part that you're like, oh God, it is me. I'm the medicine. I am actually the magic the whole time. It's not the mushrooms. And the mushrooms are like totally cool with that. They don't want to be center
They
stage.
don't want to take over. They don't want.
No,
They don't want. They don't want control. They
no.
don't want. And this is so. My youngest daughter is one of is. I literally got her a deck of tarot cards that are mushrooms.
Love
Like,
it.
because she loves mushrooms so, like, she's so interested. It's just one of those things. It's one of those things that just catches her, and it's just fungi in general, because it is such an amazing living being, and
Yeah.
it I'm not going to sit there and say it's anything less than a living being, because it
Yeah.
really truly is.
Yeah. I think they're very sentient. I think they have a
It's
plan.
medicine from the earth.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
It is
medicine
literally.
that Earth has given us, that Source has given us, the medicine that
Mm-hmm.
we have been taught that is bad for us. And even so, like I even said, I'm in California, clean, whatever. But what that CBD or the other properties of that plant do to me and help me through my PTSD and through my seizure issues and stuff, it's amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
I contend with myself all the time, because I'm like, I'm constantly fighting the battle of, well, because I'm an addict, well, am I addicted to that? No, I'm not addicted to
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
I'm not addicted to that. Literally my first drug that I went to was methamphetamines. I didn't
Mm.
use anything first. There was no gateway drug for me
Wow.
or
Yep.
anything like that. I went straight to methamphetamines. That was my DOC from the very beginning.
Mm.
Gateway drug thing is so not true because I'm sorry, I started smoking weed when I was like 13, 14 years old when I started going through all my shit.
Mm.
And that is the psychedelics is the furthest I've ever done. I've never done anything else. I've never felt like I wanted to do anything else. I've never felt the
Yeah.
need to do anything stronger. I've been, prescribed opioids and I'm going, I don't want to take that.
right?
I'm
Yeah.
like, can I not take that? Or there's something else I can take? Like,
Yep.
I don't like the way I don't like sleeping, and so I feel that it's such a load of bullshit in my
Hmm.
opinion. And on the whole, it's a gateway drug. No, it's not. You just don't want us to know the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the propaganda, right? And I
Yep.
mean, it's
The
interesting
DARE
because I
program.
think, yeah, the DARE program, right? And what's interesting is now that we have all of these social media apps out there, there is a group online that's becoming so aware of propaganda. And what's interesting
Hmm.
is like your brain will scan for confirmation bias. So like you can have whatever crazy ass thought you want and you will find something online these days to confirm it. And so what's interesting is the folks who like have the veil taken from their eyes like we have, you
Hmm.
can't unsee it. You cannot unsee it. And
No.
yet there are still people out there who are so blind. And those
Yeah.
folks are probably not listening to this podcast, honestly, truly. But like when I think about all of the different like conversations I've had, even with people in my family who are not down with this, I'm just
Hmm.
like, you know what? Once you get free, it's like there's a reason it's called freedom because you
Yeah,
don't give a
it's like
fuck.
you walk away and you're like, I'm so
Uh,
sorry you're still stuck there.
bless their
That's
hearts is what we said in the
that's
South.
literally, yeah, it's literally where I go. It's just a bless their hearts, they're still stuck there. And it's not for me, it's not my job to wake you up. It's
Mm,
my job to help once you're there. You
that's
know?
yeah, that's such a good
So
way to put
you
it.
have a podcast yourself, correct?
I do. I have a
Would you,
podcast.
well, let's tell everybody because I know that there's our listeners are going to want to listen to your podcast as well. Tell us your podcast.
It's called The Light Within. It's been on break, so it will come back in the next few weeks. I just recorded a lot of the first season myself, so there's a little bit of an upgrade and a change from it used to just be all interviews with other people. So we're in the sixth season, and this season we're really focused on exactly what we've been talking about: why you're self abandoning, how to build self
Yeah.
trust, why it's actually your nervous system that's the problem, and the recipe that is required for actual expansion. So those are coming out probably in 2 weeks. I think I'm going to launch them around April 1st. And so it's called The Light Within.
The Light Within.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I know I will be listening to your podcast. And even though I'm a podcaster, I'm supposed to listen to podcasts. I really don't. I'm not, I know it's horrible and it's like, oh, the horror. But I just, when you're doing it and then you've got so much else going on in your life, you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, I do it. But I mean, I listen to some.
Sure.
It gets so bad that sometimes we don't listen back to the ones that we recorded because we go, oh, well, we were there for it. We're bad. And
I've
I'm
actually been
sorry,
the
but
same way before. Yeah.
yeah, it's just kind of like we were there for it. Why do I need to watch it? Like,
Well, and I think for me too, and this is kind of just like a side note, as somebody who spent 15 years in television and was constantly forced to listen to myself and see myself and watch the replays, the perfectionism that activated in me has actually been completely
mm,
released with my own podcast because I'm like, we did it. Here it is. It's there. It's in the ether. It's in the world now. It's
yeah,
in the void. So yeah, there's certainly conversations that I have gone back and listened to. And usually I'm just like, I let it go. Here's my offering to the goddess in the universe. If it's
yeah,
for me, it'll come back. Yeah.
yep.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you on that one a whole lot. I appreciate you being here, Leslie. This was an amazing conversation and a lot of great information from you. I look forward to talking with you more. I really do. Giselle, did you have anything you needed to add?
Um, for our listeners, of course, if they want to contact us, they can contact us through Look Into the Glass email, which is look in through THRU. Hold on, no, I said
It's
that
what?
wrong.
No,
Damn
you
it.
screwed it all
No,
up. He's going to be all over you on this one.
Pete's gonna kick my
It's
ass on that
one,
one.
two. Yeah, it's one, two. Look in through THRU 34 theglass at gmail.com.
I swear he goes on YouTube and just rewind. It just goes all the way to the
Fast
end,
forward to right to the end.
just to pick on me about me and my email. Like I swear that's what he does. Also, they can reach us on Facebook and TikTok. And we will be having more platforms coming up soon. I'm sorry, y'all. I really can't keep up with all the platforms. It's such a
It's a
pain in
lot.
the ass. But
No,
yeah, if you want to stay anonymous, you can stay anonymous. Your story can be um read through, and we will speak it out to the world for you if you want. Every story is valuable.
Hmm.
That's all I have.
absolutely. That is so sure. Thank you guys. Thanks again for looking into the glass.